Welcome back with a quick video, the new old records series I'm doing on this channel every now and then. I've been very busy. I'm very busy these days. The knitting and the washing, that's a Beatle reference. So lots of things to do, so I don't really have ideas for any more elaborate videos, if there's such a thing as an elaborate video on this channel. But today it's just a quick run through my latest records purchases. We'll start with, it's not yet, I haven't just yet unpacked or listened to these records. They're still in this shrink wrap. The Lightning Seeds Cloud Cuckoo Land, I think that's the 1989 or 1990 album. Doesn't say here, but I think it's from the late 80s, early 90s. It must have been maybe the first or second Lightning Seeds album. I'm familiar with the hits because I have a greatest hits of the Lightning Seeds album. They're one of those bands, especially Britpop bands, that really are a greatest hits band, a great singles act. So I'm familiar with the tracks All I Want, Pure. Yeah, that's basically it. All I Want and Pure, two fantastic Lightning Seeds pop magic songs. In total 11 songs, so there's still nine songs I don't know yet. So I'm looking forward to that. I really like the Lightning Seeds, especially in the mid-90s. So I already have all the 2 or 3 mid-90s albums of theirs, like Dizzy Heights, and I love them. So, and this is like a early classic of the Lightning Seeds. So I'm really looking forward to it. Another thing I can't wait to unpack is Booth and the Bad Angel. The 1996, I think it was, collaboration between Tim Booth, the frontman, lyricist of James, and Angelo Badalamenti, who's that guy who's famous as the soundtrack composer of more or less all the David Lynch movies and also Twin Peaks. The Twin Peaks theme is by him. And this is a combination of two worlds that I'm really a fan of. I'm a huge David Lynch fan, and also because of the soundtracks, not only, but also because of the great soundtracks he usually has by Angelo Badalamenti. And I'm a huge, I never really talked about them on this channel so far, at least I can't remember, but I'm a very, very big James fan. They're probably in my top 20 favorite artists of all time. And this is right from the golden age of James. They were kind of split up, or they took a break in the mid-90s. But the years before and after that are the classic golden era of James. The last James album before this album was 1993 Slate, which is in my opinion their best album. And then they came back a year after that album. James came back with the Whiplash album, which is also a fantastic album. So Tim Booth was on top form in the mid-90s. And it's, James in my opinion is one of the most underrated bands of all time. Also in the sense that they really missed out all their hypes, because mid-90s, James would have been the perfect band for the height of Britpop in a way. I mean, they wouldn't really have liked that because they're kind of they have like an anti-commercial commercialism aspect to them. They're a very spiritual band and so on. But in pure economic terms, they would have been perfect for the mid-90s Britpop craze. And they took a break for this side project at the height of Britpop. A James album in 1995 or 1996 could have been huge, because, like I said, they were on top form, and they were a band made for that scene in a way. But their late, like I said, was released 1993, before the Britpop hype really started, and the comeback album 1997 was when Britpop already went down, so they missed out those golden years 94, 95, 96. But I'm really looking forward to finally listen to what Tim Booth was up to in 1996 at the height of Britpop, when he decided not to make a regular James album, but a strange side project with a movie soundtrack composer who's probably in his 60s, who's like an older guy already back then. So, it got good reviews, but of course it didn't sell as much as the big James albums, because it's, it was seen as a side project of James. but it got good reviews, so I'm really looking forward to that. I also recently, not with those albums, but like a couple of weeks ago, I already bought this James Best of. The new James Best of came out like, I don't know, a couple of months ago, maybe 2-3 months ago. Nothing But Love. I was familiar with almost all the songs on this album, or on this compilation. It's a free CD compilation, 58 tracks, spanning all those years from 1982, I think, when the first single came out, until 2025, because the last two tracks, it's in chronological order. The last two tracks are brand new, exclusive to this compilation tracks. James, in my opinion, put out one of the best of albums of all time with the 1998 Best of album, which is really a perfect one CD. You can't really have a better best of album on one CD than the Best of album from 1998. This is more sprawling, it's 58 tracks. It covers a much bigger time span and much more albums they did after 1998, of course, and really fantastic to listen to this as well. But for James starters, I still would recommend the 1998, I think 17 or 18 track Best of album. But this is also, of course, this is fantastic for me as a James fan. And then I bought Nonetheless by Pet Shop Boys on vinyl. I had it on CD, the day it came out, basically, I had it on CD, and back then I did this on my channel, kind of successful video ranking all the Pet Shop Boys albums, including Nonetheless, but I didn't have the vinyl version. I still love this album, that's why I finally decided to also buy it on vinyl. I think it still holds up 2 years after its release. Often when you do these ranking videos, you have a kind of a recency bias, and I was afraid that Nonetheless, I think I put it on like probably my ninth favorite Pet Shop Boys album out of those 14 or 15 albums, so in the middle of the catalog. And usually I think maybe in 1 year it will go down for me, but this didn't go down. I still regularly listen to the CD version, and I still love it. Maybe I like it even more now than two years ago. It's at least the top 9, maybe top 8, top 7 album for me by Pet Shop Boys, and that means a lot, because the top 6 albums, maybe even the top 7 albums of Pet Shop Boys, are all 10 out of 10 masterpieces for me. So this is very close to a masterpiece. And the last one, don't have much to say about this. This is probably the most well-known solo album by a Rolling Stone, in this case by Keith Richards. It's Talk Is Cheap. I think mid-80s, that was the time when he and Mick Jagger didn't get along. And this is kind of a, at least if you're a Rolling Stones fan, a kind of legendary Rolling Stone solo album. And, I never listened to it before, so I'm really looking forward to this. This will be my first exposure to a Rolling Stones solo album. I don't have any solo albums by Mick Jagger or Blue Wyman and Keith Richards until now, so I hope I like it. But I think I will like it because I like the voice of Keith Richards. In the early days he didn't get any lead vocals, and then later on he got like one song, even later 2 songs per album maybe, where he's the lead vocalist. But I always tend to like his gruff voice, and I expect a kind of a bluesy Tom Waitsian album. That was also mid-80s, the time when Keith Richards collaborated with Tom Waits, for example, on the Rain Dogs album. So I'm expecting something a bit in that style. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Goodbye.